Have you ever gotten in an argument and you were right? I mean, you were right about your point, but then you said something dumb and just blew it? Have you ever been in a conversation or a negotiation with a family member, a friend, maybe one of your children, and you're working on something with them and you're helping them work through something, and then all of a sudden, you said something and you messed up the whole thing. And then at the end of that conflict, you ended up apologizing. Well, I'm going to teach you how to stop losing arguments when you're right. Okay, you say, is that in the Bible? It kind of is. So in James chapter 1, here's what it says. In verse number 16, it says, do not err, my beloved brethren. Now, the verses leading up to that are talking about temptation. God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. Every man is tempted when he's drawn away of his own lust and enticed. And then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin when it is finished bringeth forth death. Then it says, do not err, my beloved brethren. In other words, don't go astray following the appetites of the flesh. Okay. And then it says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. I love the fact that it says it doesn't even have a shadow of turning. Why does it say it doesn't have a shadow of turning? Well, because what creates a shadow? When something comes between you and the light, right? But God is the light, so he can't have a shadow, right? He's the one who creates shadows. But it says, he doesn't change. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. Why? Because God's intention is always good, right? Okay, so it says, verse number 17, every good gift is from above, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begat he us, with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Now, I know a lot of people don't like that concept, but I want you to notice it says, of his own will begat he us. What does that mean? That means if you are redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, if you're born again, if you are a follower of Christ, you never found God because you weren't looking for him. He found you. Okay. Myron, don't you believe in free will? Yes, I believe in God's free will. Okay. Anyway, I'll let y'all think about that one on the way home. Okay. Of his own will begot he us, with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, this is the part I want to get to, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Wherefore, lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any man be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he's like a man beholding his natural face in a glass, for he beholdeth himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the word, this man shall be blessed in his deeds. I want you to notice it says, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Listen faster than you talk. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You should use your ears twice as much as you use your mouth. Now, if there's anybody who ever had conflicts with people and they were right, it was Jesus. But you know what he did? He didn't lose arguments when he was right. When people tried to trick him, he didn't get all bent out of shape. See, the reason you lose arguments when you're right is because you cross over out of logic land into emotion land. And when you cross over out of logic land into emotion land, emotions will make you say something you will wish as soon as you said it, you had not said. Emotions will make you do something that as soon as you do it, you'll wish you had not done it. How many of y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And so what happens is somebody does something wrong to you. Maybe somebody that you love, maybe your wife, maybe your husband, maybe one of your children, maybe your parents, they do something and it was wrong. It was clearly wrong. and then you get sideways and you do something wrong, and now they can point at the thing you did wrong, which makes your point at the thing they did wrong nebulous in their mind. And so you lost the argument even though you were right. And by the way, I'm not even talking to you about this because I want you to win an argument. I'm talking to you about this so that when you have somebody in your life that you're in conflict with and you can see they're on a bad path, you can help them get off of that bad path, and you can't help them get off of that bad path. If you become like them, you can no longer help them. How many of y'all tracking? And so what we have to do is, somebody that says count to 10, like it says let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and then it says slow to wrath. Why? Because that's how it happens. Like we hear something, and then we get all, and it starts bubbling up inside of us, and all of a sudden, before we know it, this feeling that I have is causing me to say something out of my mouth that I know I shouldn't be saying. How many of y'all have done that before? Right. So here's what you got to do. Don't talk until the feeling goes away. Say what? Don't talk until the feeling goes away. I was having a conversation with somebody in my family whom I love dearly. And no, it was not my wife, but somebody else. Having a conflict with this person in my family whom I love dearly. And we were at an impasse. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have this conversation later with you. I can no longer have this conversation with you and be at peace. So when my emotions go out of this situation, I'll call you back. Why? Because I don't want to say something that I don't mean just because I feel it. Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Do you know what wrath is? So wrath is like boiling rice. If you ain't paying attention, I don't know if y'all ever had this happen, but when you boiling rice, if you ain't paying attention, what'll happen is, all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, the water will boil up, go over the top, and be down in the burners and all over the top of the stove. How many of y'all have had that happen? That is wrath. A rapid boiling over of the emotions. When it says, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, it's saying, don't let your emotions boil over really fast. You remember, they came to Jesus. They thought they had him. Oh, we got him now. He loves contradicting the law of Moses. We got him now. Hey, Rabbi, I got a question for you. See this woman right here? Yeah, we caught her in adultery in the very act. The law of Moses said we should take her outside this camp and stone her. What do you say? Here's what Jesus says. He stooped down on the ground and wrote with his finger. It didn't even tell us what he wrote. But here's what it does. Here's what it shows us. He didn't answer them right away. Now I can imagine a whole bunch of different questions he could have asked. He could have wrote questions on the ground. How did you know where she would be doing this? Have you been there? That'd be an interesting question, wouldn't it? This is a great question. Where is the man? She certainly wasn't committing adultery by herself. Or maybe he just started writing the sins he knew they had on the ground, and their own conviction started like, oh, and it says, when he looked up, he saw no man, the woman only. He said, where are thy accusers? She said, they're gone. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. What? Don't be in a hurry to win the argument. Don't allow yourself to get all worked up. And by the way, when I say argument, I'm not necessarily talking about an argument necessarily. It could be just like you want to help your child. You want to help your child. You see they're on a bad path. And the fact that they're on a bad path hurts you because you love them more than they have the ability to comprehend. If you have children, like, don't ever expect your children to love you as much as you love them unless you become so old and cannot take care of yourself and they take care of you as long as you took care of them, then maybe they'll love you as much as you love them. But they're not going to love you out of appreciation. It just doesn't work that way. So you're trying to help your child stay off this bad path. And so because you want them to stay off this bad path, you get on a level 11,000. And you start screaming and hollering and cussing and acting a fool. And now you blew it. You already wasted your point. Because you got out of kilter. You got out of sorts. You got cattywampus, as they say in Texas. Sideways. And all you had to do, stick with the points. I remember my wife and I, we used to be house parents at a children's home. And at one point, we had our 3 children and 22 teenage girls living in one cottage. Sheesh. Boys and girls are easy in different ways, and they're hard in different ways. Boys are they're going to do something and figure out it was a bad idea after they cut a finger off, right? But you got 2 boys, they can't stand each other right now. 5 minutes later, they'll be out in the yard playing. 2 girls, they have a conflict? Nah. You remember that thing you said to me when we was in the 2nd grade? But we're 52, right? right. It was like, and when you're attempting to guide young people, you got to make sure you don't get sideways with them. You're a pastor. You're counseling people. You got to make sure you don't get sideways with them. I remember I was speaking at my brother's church in Pennsylvania, and I was talking about stuff that's in the Bible, but one of the guys he didn't like it. So he went and complained to my brother. My brother said, well, you don't talk to me about it, talk to him. So I said, I'll have a conversation with him. So I go into my brother's office. We're having this conversation. This guy gets sideways. He starts screaming and hollering and cussing me out in the pastor's office. So I'm a very kind person. But I am not nice. See, nice people go along to get along. And they'll say what you want to hear because you want to hear it. I don't do that. See, and I know there's a dude in here who still likes to fight. And don't mind hurting somebody. That dude still lives in here. And when that dude stood up and started cussing me out in my pastor's office, I said, I'm done. I'm going to leave now. And I left. Because if I had stayed, then both of us would have been wrong. Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And see, here's what we gotta learn. See, we gotta care more about doing the right thing than we are about being seen as right. That ain't always easy to do. Oh, shucks. One of my, a person I know, I'll put it that way, was telling me about the stuff that his wife was doing that didn't make any sense to him. And I said, bro, I'm going to tell you something. This is some of the wisest counsel I've ever gotten when I didn't understand some things my wife was doing. Because I grew up with all brothers. I got 6 brothers. I had no sisters. I'm still trying to figure out the whole girl thing. So I called my friend Kenny one time. I said, Kenny, I don't get it, man. It doesn't make any sense. He said, Myron, I'm going to tell you something. Okay, please tell me something. And he started it like this. Man, use your logic on yourself. But Kenny, you don't, man, use your logic on yourself. Do you understand that was some of the best marriage advice I have ever gotten in my life? Man. If you don't say it with the man on the front, it don't make any sense. But as soon as you say man, see, here's the problem. The man is trying to use logic on his wife. Man? You say, what are you saying? I'm saying, when you are in conflict with your wife, helping her understand the logic that you understand does not fix the problem. You have to show her that you understand how she feels. I didn't say you have to agree with how she feels. I didn't say you have to, but you have to understand. And you need to let her know, I understand how you feel. Now, I don't feel like you feel, but I understand how you feel. And because, see, God commands the man, the husband, to love his wife and to cherish her. So you show your wife that you understand how she feels because you love her. It is what it is. Ladies. Oh, stop trying to make it make sense. No, that don't work. You're trying to divide an uneven number into an even number. It just don't, there's no answer. Except, I understand how you feel. And I'll do my best not to ever make you feel that way. See, then, okay. That doesn't even feel like a resolution to a man, but I'm telling you, it is the only one. Brothers, let me help you. It's the only one. Okay. Ladies, your husband is never going to feel about that thing the way you feel about that thing, whatever that thing is. Instead of trying to make him feel what you feel okay with the fact that he can't feel it as long as he's willing to understand how you feel. See, we got to let folks stay in their lane instead of trying to get folk in our lane. I have people in my family who process by not talking. I have people in my family who process only by talking. I have to know who I'm talking to when I'm talking to them and give that person what they need. How many of y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Because at the end of the day, do you really want to win an argument for the sake of winning an argument? Or if you are in disagreements with somebody and you can see they're on a path that will hurt their life, do you want them to see that they're on that path so they get off of that path? You can't help them get off of that path if you get on the path with them. Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. When you feel your emotions boiling up, remember this phrase: when emotions go up, intelligence goes down. And I'm talking about in a situation. I'm not talking about necessarily in a person, but even in a person. So what you want to do is, as much as you possibly can, remove your emotions from the situation. This is so important when we're talking with our children. I never, when my children were growing up, I never spanked my children when I was angry. You know why? Because I didn't want them to think that I was beating them up because I'm mad at them. I always waited until I was no longer angry, and it was all about learning the lesson. See, adding my emotions to a already turbulent situation does not make it more smooth. Remove yourself from a highly emotionally charged situation until the emotions are no longer highly charged, and then go back and deal with it from the perspective of truth. That's why it says, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. In other words, if you allow yourself to keep on boiling over, whatever you do once you boil over, it's not going to end up right. You're not doing God's work at that point. You're doing your own work. Because the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. And then it says, wherefore lay apart all filthiness. That's just bad deeds, superfluity of naughtiness, the abundance of bad deeds. And receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. It's word engrafted word. It's kind of like pouring water on a garden. Like we water the earth that is us with the water of the word, so that it brings forth fruits unto good works. Well, when it says that it's able to save your souls, that's not talking about saving your soul like eternal salvation. That's talking about saving your life. In other words, you get all boiled over and out of shape, and then you end up doing something and you kill somebody. Or you end up killing yourself. Or you end up killing somebody and then going to jail for murder. when you think about the things that human beings can do to other human beings, it's mind-blowing. And most of the time, a lot of that stuff happens in a fit of rage. So when you find yourself in a fit of rage, go somewhere by yourself till the rage don't fit no more. How many of y'all tracking? I'm thinking of a man who used to go to a church where I was the assistant pastor. And this man, in a fit of rage, ran over his wife in front of his children like 7 times and killed her. And you proved what? You proved that you don't have self-control. Here's what I'm saying. And I know, we think, well, I would never do that. Well, you would never do that in the state that you are in now. Keep yourself out of states where that kind of thing could happen. When you find yourself in an emotionally charged situation, remove yourself from the situation until the emotions are no longer charged. I am telling you, this is such good Bible. This ain't go to church. This ain't pray 3 times. This ain't tithe. This is like everyday stuff right here. This is like in Tampa, this is road rage stuff right here. In Pennsylvania, a guy in a road rage, he's having road rage, this dude in a pickup truck having road rage with this 19-year-old girl on her birthday, ends up pulling out his gun, shooting her in the head to kill her. For what? For what? And what did you prove? You proved that you have no self-control. And by the way, the only way to develop self-control is to start developing self-control, because every time you demonstrate to yourself you have self-control, you are showing yourself that I am a person who can have victory over this temper of mine. And don't try to act like your temper's worse than mine, because I'm telling you, I don't think there's anybody in here who had a worse temper than me. When I was a teenager, I'd punch a hole in a wall. I looked at a fire hydrant one time. Thought about punching it. And I looked back at my hand, I thought, this is not going to end well for me, and I didn't hit it. I already know that's in there. It's dormant, but it ain't dead. And so I got to remove myself from the situation. Somebody wants to have road rage, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to slow down and let them get as far away from me as they possibly can. Because I don't want to have a shootout on the highway. I don't want to have an argument. Somebody goes by me and they cut me off and then they flip me the bird. You know what I'm going to do? I'm sorry. I don't know what I did, but I'm sorry I did it, whatever it was. Are y'all tracking? Sometimes the best way to win is to remove yourself from the situation that's creating all this charged stuff that you can't control. Lay apart all filthiness, superfluity of naughtiness. Receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. But then it says, be not hearers of the word only, be ye doers of the word, not hearers only, deceiving your own self. In other words, if you know what to do, you're hearing the word of God, but you're not doing it. You're like a man beholding his natural face in a glass, for he beholdeth himself and goeth his way and forget straightway what manner of man he is. What is that saying? That's saying, if you hear the word of God, you know what you're supposed to do, and you don't make the changes, you're like a person who wakes up in the morning, sleep in your eyes, slobber down the side of your face, little stuff hanging off your mustache, and your hair's all disheveled, and you look in the mirror and say, well, off I go to work, and you don't do anything about it. He's like a man beholding his natural face in the glass. He beholdeth himself and goeth his way and forget straightway what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty. Don't you find those words fascinating? The perfect law of liberty. See, that's so paradoxical. We're talking about law. Law implies restraint. But we're calling it the law of liberty. Why are we calling, whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty? Why? Because freedom can only exist inside of boundaries. If there are no boundaries, there can be no freedom. The scripture tells us in Romans chapter 7, it says to be free from sin is to be bound by righteousness. But to be bound by righteousness is to be free from sin. Everybody's bound by something. Freedom is bondage and bondage is freedom. The question is not, am I free? The question is, what am I free from? Whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deeds. Don't talk about the word, walk about the word. Don't just know it, go it. Because if you don't, you're going to blow it. And I'm a poet. I'm done. There have been so many times in our lives where we wanted to help somebody who was wrong. And they were on a bad path, but we couldn't help them because we got on the path with them. Stay off the path. Deal with the situation at hand and remove yourself from it until the emotions are gone. And that's how you can stop losing arguments when you're right. And when you win an argument and you're right, everybody wins. But if you lose an argument and you're wrong, everybody loses. Hope that helps you. Stay blessed by the best, and we'll see you on the next Bible study. Bye for now.